Still has some dignity left. I'll offer him cash.
Can't that man take no for an answer?
Behind the gavel and guffaws of television's quirkiest courtroom lurked bizarre tragedies, uncanny coincidences, and shocking casting disasters that nearly derailed the entire series. From deadly bailiff curses to a Charlie's Angel who lasted barely one rehearsal, Night Court's real backstage drama rivaled anything Judge Stone faced on screen. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Night Court. Fact 1. The bailiff curse killed 2 actresses. Night Court may have been a comedy, but behind the scenes, the show faced an eerie tragedy that left cast and crew wondering if the bailiff position was cursed. During the show's first 3 seasons, 2 actresses who played bailiff characters died of the exact same disease at nearly the same age, creating one of television's strangest and most heartbreaking coincidences. Selma Diamond was the first bailiff on Night Court, playing the feisty, chain-smoking Selma Hacker for seasons 1 and 2. With her distinctive raspy voice and sharp wit, Diamond became a fan favorite and even earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a comedy series in 1985. But tragically, after completing season 2, Diamond died of lung cancer on May 13, 1985, at the age of 64. The show addressed her death directly in the season 3 premiere, showing the other characters mourning her loss and searching for a replacement. Producers then hired Florence Halop to fill the role, bringing her in as bailiff Florence Kleiner for season 3. Halop had just impressed audiences as the cantankerous patient Mrs. Hufnagel on the medical drama St. Elsewhere, and she seemed like the perfect replacement with her similar comedy timing and raspy voice. But shockingly, history repeated itself. Halop, who was also a heavy smoker, was hospitalized in June of 1986 after suffering a stroke, and doctors discovered she had advanced lung cancer. She died on July 15, 1986, at age 63, just 1 year after Diamond and only 22 episodes into her Night Court run. By the time producers needed to cast a third bailiff, many in Hollywood were calling it the bailiff curse. They wisely chose 32-year-old Marcia Warfield, who played Roz Russell from season 4 until the show ended, finally breaking the tragic pattern. Fact 2. The creator's father was the mystery laugher.
Gotcha!
If you've ever watched Night Court, you've probably heard it. A loud, distinctive belly laugh that seemed to boom through the studio audience during the funniest moments of every episode. For years, fans speculated about who owned that unmistakable laugh, with many guessing it belonged to famous voice actor Mel Blanc or even star Harry Anderson himself. But the truth behind the mystery laugh is far more heartwarming than anyone expected. The laugh actually belonged to Chuck Weege, the father of Night Court creator Reinhold Weege. Chuck wasn't a professional actor or comedian, just a devoted dad who loved his son's work so much that he attended nearly every single taping of the show. His genuine, booming laughter was so loud and infectious that it naturally made its way into the studio audience track that aired with each episode. And over time, viewers began to recognize that same distinctive laugh appearing again and again throughout the series. The laugh became so iconic that it even appeared in the show's production company logo at the end of each episode. Following the Night Court theme music, a distinctive laugh could be heard dubbed over the vanity card for Starry Night Productions, Reinhold Weege's production company. This was Chuck's laugh once again, immortalized as part of the show's signature sound. Chuck Weege continued attending tapings with his wife Georgia, Reinhold's mother, throughout the first 6 seasons of Night Court. His presence and support were a constant source of encouragement for the cast and crew. However, when Reinhold left the show after season 6 to pursue other projects, Chuck stopped attending the tapings as well. For longtime fans who had grown accustomed to hearing that familiar laugh week after week, its absence marked the end of an era and added a personal touch to the show's later seasons that many viewers didn't even realize they were missing. Fact 3. Harry Anderson was a real street con artist.
I went out of my mind. Suppose on your wedding day you saw your wife in the nude. I think I'll probably insist on it.
Long before Harry Anderson became America's favorite quirky judge on Night Court, he was making a living on the streets as an actual con artist, hustling unsuspecting people with classic scams like the shell game and three-card Monte. Anderson's path to stardom was anything but conventional, and his real-life experience as a street hustler would eventually become the foundation for his entire acting career. Growing up in Chicago, Anderson hung around the Ambassador Hotel, where old card players would gather in a room called the Pump Room. As a young kid, he watched these experienced hustlers work their magic, and one of them eventually sat him down and taught him how to run three-card Monte, a classic street scam where players try to follow which card is which as the dealer shuffles them around. Anderson later admitted that this early education pointed him toward what con artists called easy money, and he spent years working as what they called a wise guy, a street entrepreneur who made his living through clever tricks and scams. Anderson's only real run-ins with the law came from this hustling work, and he did get arrested at least once in New Orleans, spending a couple of nights in jail. The irony, he noted, was that by the time he was busted, he had already stopped actually hustling with the shell game and was instead performing it as a demonstration to show people how the con worked. Eventually, Anderson transformed his street hustling skills into a legitimate magic act, turning what could have been a criminal career into entertainment. He even taught courses on how to detect fraudsters and confidence artists, using his insider knowledge to help others avoid being scammed. This unique background made him the perfect choice to play conman Harry the Hat on Cheers, which ultimately led to his role as Judge Harry Stone. Fact 4. Richard Mall's bald head was a happy accident.
You're a morally bankrupt pervert!
Lady, I'm a normal American male.
You're 3 normal American men.
Richard Mall's iconic bald look as Bull Shannon on Night Court wasn't originally part of the character design at all, but rather a complete accident that became one of the show's most memorable visual elements. The 6'8" actor had shaved his head for a completely different project. And when he showed up to audition for Night Court still sporting that look, producers immediately knew they had found something special. In 1983, just before Night Court premiered, Mall starred in an obscure science fiction B-movie called Metal Storm: The Destruction of Jared Sin, where he played a warrior character named Hurok. The role required him to shave his head completely, giving him a menacing appearance that fit the post-apocalyptic setting of the film. When Mall got called in to audition for the role of Bull Shannon on Night Court shortly after, he was still bald from the Metal Storm shoot. The casting directors and producers were immediately sold on the look. When Mall walked into the audition room, they told him the shaved head looked great and asked if he would be willing to keep it for the part. Mall's response showed just how much he wanted the role. He said he would shave his legs for the part. He would shave his armpits. He didn't care. The bald head became such an integral part of Bull Shannon's gentle giant persona that Mall maintained it throughout all 9 seasons of Night Court, from 1984 to 1992. However, Mall wasn't always thrilled about the weekly maintenance the look required. He once told reporters that he liked to grow his hair whenever the show was on hiatus because he didn't want to be typecast as a stretched-out Yul Brynner for his entire life, showing that even iconic looks can come with their own challenges. Fact 5. John Larroquette quit winning Emmys.
I got it.
Your inflatable Annette Funicello doll came in?
No, it's still on back order.
John Larroquette's portrayal of the sleazy, womanizing prosecutor Dan Fielding was so brilliant that he won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a comedy series 4 years in a row, from 1985 through 1988. But in 1989, When he was heavily favored to win a 5th consecutive Emmy, Lurked did something almost unheard of in Hollywood. He asked the Television Academy to remove his name from consideration entirely. Lurked's decision wasn't about false modesty or giving other actors a chance, but rather a calculated career move born from genuine concern about his future in acting. In interviews, he explained that he had mixed feelings about his own performance by that point, partly because show creator Reinhold Weege had left Night Court after season 6 and new producers had taken over. He admitted he didn't think the work he was doing was as good as it had been in earlier seasons, which contributed to his decision. But the bigger issue was typecasting. Lurked knew that Dan Fielding had made such a deep impression on audiences, studios, producers, directors, and writers that it threatened to define his entire career. He told reporters that every role being offered to him was some sleazy lawyer, or some sleazy this, or some sleazy that, and he realized the show would eventually end. His strategy was to fade into the background with the character a little bit, so there would be a possibility of eventually doing something else, and he wanted people to start forgetting about Dan Fielding before Night Court finished its run. The gamble paid off in the long term. After Night Court ended, Lurked successfully starred in his own series, The John Larroquette Show, and won a 5th Emmy in 1998 for a guest role on The Practice, proving he was far more than just Dan Fielding. Fact 6. A Charlie's Angel was fired during rehearsals.
Excuse me, I'm afraid I'm a little lost. I was wondering if you could direct me?
Certainly. First left, take the corridor, and then follow the yellow brick road.
In 1984, Night Court hired Shelley Hack, fresh off her controversial one-season stint on Charlie's Angels, to play the role of public defender Christine Sullivan at the beginning of season 2. The casting seemed perfect on paper. Hack had name recognition from Charlie's Angels and would bring glamour and star power to the show. But the entire arrangement fell apart so quickly that Hack never even completed filming a single episode, making her one of the shortest tenures in sitcom history. The problem emerged during rehearsals when Hack and producer Reinhold Weege both realized something had gone terribly wrong with the character. When Hack had originally auditioned and done the table read, Christine Sullivan was written as a funny, comedic character. But by the time rehearsals started, the writers had changed the role completely, transforming her into a straight woman who was supposed to set up jokes for other characters rather than deliver them herself. The concept simply didn't work, and both Hack and Weege could see it wasn't going to succeed. Hack later explained what happened in her own words, saying the role was changed from being a funny lady, as she was in the reading, into a straight woman, and it wasn't working. She asked what was the point if it wasn't working, and she and the producer mutually and amicably agreed she would not continue with the series. The episode Hack had begun rehearsing was completely reshot with a different actress, and the entire situation was handled so quietly that many viewers never even knew Hack had been cast in the first place. Ellen Foley was quickly brought in to play a different public defender character named Billy Young for the remainder of season 2. And then Markie Post finally took over the role of Christine Sullivan starting in season 3, where she remained for the rest of the series. Fact 7. The show had 6 female leads in 1 year.
Miss Sullivan, any more of this and I'll cite you for contempt.
But he didn't have a prayer.
$50, not another word about the case.
Your Honor, he was denied.
$100.
But he...
$200.
Your Honor, you...
$300.
Sold American!
Night Court's early seasons were so chaotic with casting changes that the show cycled through an astonishing 6 different actresses in female lead roles within just the first year, creating a revolving door situation that could have destroyed the series before it ever found its footing. This kind of massive turnover was almost unheard of for a sitcom, and it left producers scrambling to find the right chemistry for their ensemble cast. The chaos started with the pilot episode, where Gail Strickland played the public defender character named Sheila Gardner. She appeared in only that one episode before being replaced. For the rest of Season 1, Paula Kelly took over as public defender Liz Williams, but after the first season ended, she was cut from the show entirely. Meanwhile, the court clerk position also saw changes when Karen Austin, who played Lana Wagner and was supposed to be Judge Stone's original love interest, left before the first season was even over. Season 2 brought even more upheaval. Ellen Foley joined the cast as public defender Billy Young, but she only lasted that one season before being replaced as well. The role of Christine Sullivan, the public defender who would eventually become the show's primary female lead, had actually been written with Markie Post in mind from the very beginning, but Post was under contract with ABC's The Fall Guy and couldn't take the part initially. Post did manage to guest star in one Season 2 episode to introduce her character to audiences, but she couldn't become a full-time cast member until Season 3 when The Fall Guy was canceled. Only then, in Season 3, did Night Court finally find stability with Markie Post permanently joining as Christine Sullivan, a role she would play for the remaining 7 seasons until the show ended in 1992. Fact 8. Mel Torme's career was saved by the show.
I own every record Mel Torme ever made. I'm gonna marry the girl that's impressed by that.
What started as a single throwaway line in Night Court's pilot episode ended up reviving the entire career of a jazz legend and introducing Mel Torme to a whole new generation of fans. In the show's very first episode, writers established that Judge Harry Stone was a huge fan of the singer Mel Torme, best known for composing the classic Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. This one reference turned into a recurring joke throughout the series, but nobody expected it would have such a profound, real-world impact. According to series creator Reinhold Weege, when that first episode aired mentioning Mel Torme, friends and relatives of the jazz singer immediately started calling him to tell him about the reference on this new NBC sitcom. Torme was so flattered by the attention that when Night Court later contacted him about appearing on the show as himself, he was more than happy to accept. He ended up making 8 guest appearances throughout the series' run, often playing scenes where he would humorously clash with Judge Stone despite being his idol, and he even appeared once as Harry's guardian angel in a parody of It's a Wonderful Life. The exposure to Night Court's younger audience had an incredible effect on Torme's career. The singer himself stated that largely due to the Night Court references, he noticed that his audience at concerts started to get younger and younger, with Generation X fans who otherwise would never have heard of him now filling his shows. Torme directly credited his newfound resurgence to Night Court, and the relationship became so meaningful that when Mel Torme died in 1999, Harry Anderson was among those who delivered eulogies at his funeral, honoring the friendship that had grown from a simple sitcom joke. Fact 9. Star Trek's Data started as a hillbilly.
How did she die?
She passed away in her sleep.
That's it? She was just sleeping peacefully?
Yes, on the railroad track.
Before Brent Spiner became famous as the emotionless android lieutenant commander, Data on Star Trek The Next Generation, he was making audiences laugh on Night Court as Bob Wheeler, a perpetually unlucky hillbilly from West Virginia who appeared in court with his wife June alongside the most ridiculous hard luck stories imaginable. The role showcased a completely different side of Spiner's talents, and it nearly became his ticket to sitcom stardom instead of science fiction legend. Spiner appeared in 7 episodes of Night Court during seasons 3, 4, and 5, playing Bob Wheeler with a thick country accent and deadpan delivery that was about as far from the clipped, formal Data as an actor could possibly get. Bob and his wife June, played by Annie O'Donnell, were down-on-their-luck characters who seemed cursed by the universe itself. Every time they appeared before Judge Stone, they had another pathetic tale of misfortune, from losing their home and business to a tornado to getting massively overcharged when they bought the courthouse newsstand. The character was so popular that Night Court producers planned to make Bob and June regular cast members starting in season 6. In Spiner's final appearance on the original series, the Wheelers purchased the newsstand and were being set up to become part of the permanent scenery of the show. But during the hiatus between seasons, Spiner was offered the role of Data on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And he took the job thinking Star Trek probably wouldn't last very long, since rebooting the franchise seemed like a risky bet. Of course, he was completely wrong about that, and Star Trek: The Next Generation became a massive success that defined his career for decades, spanning 7 seasons, 4 movies, and eventually a return in Star Trek Picard. Fact 10. Harry Anderson performed a gruesome SNL trick. Harry Anderson's path to becoming Judge Harry Stone on Night Court began with one of the most shocking and disturbing magic tricks ever performed on live television. During his 1982 appearance on Saturday Night Live, Anderson performed what magicians call a geek trick, which involved sticking a long needle completely through the skin of his own forearm while the studio audience watched in horror. The performance was so effective and unsettling that it changed the entire trajectory of his career. Anderson pushed the needle through his forearm, and then, to prove it wasn't just a clever illusion, he moved the needle back and forth while blood began to pour from the wound. Some audience members were so squeamish they had to look away, and Anderson called out to them, saying it's just a trick, trying to reassure people even as the disturbing display continued. The combination of showmanship, technical skill, and willingness to push boundaries made a huge impression on everyone watching, including television producers who were looking for unique talent. One person who was particularly impressed was Jeff Melman, a future Night Court producer who happened to be watching Saturday Night Live that night. He immediately shortlisted Anderson for potential roles, recognizing that anyone who could command an audience like that had serious star potential. The Saturday Night Live appearance led directly to Anderson being cast as Harry the Hat, a charming conman character on the NBC sitcom Cheers, where he made several memorable guest appearances starting in 1982. Anderson's success on Cheers caught the attention of Night Court creators, who thought his unique blend of magic skills, comedic timing, and con artist charm would be perfect for the role of Judge Harry Stone, ultimately landing him the part that would define his career. Fact 11. The 30 Rock finale Night Court never had.
I don't think we see eye to eye.
You want to see eye to eye.
You want to see eye to eye?
When Night Court ended its 9-season run in 1992, fans were left disappointed because the series never received a proper finale that gave closure to the relationship between Judge Harry Stone and public defender Christine Sullivan. The show had been renewed unexpectedly for a 9th season after the writers thought Season 8 would be the end, which meant they had already wrapped up storylines, including Harry and Christine finally getting together, only to have to untangle everything when the show continued for another year. 16 years later, another NBC sitcom finally gave fans the ending they had always wanted. In November of 2008, the comedy series 30 Rock aired an episode called The One with the Cast of Night Court, which featured Harry Anderson, Marky Post, and Charles Robinson returning to play their beloved characters one more time. In the episode, character Tracy Jordan recruits the Night Court cast to stage a proper finale for the show to cheer up Kenneth the Page, who is a huge Night Court fan and upset about changes to the NBC Page uniforms. The 30 Rock episode showed Harry and Christine finally getting married in a mock courtroom ceremony, with all the humor and heart that made the original series so beloved. During the staged wedding scene, Judge Harry Stone even declared the new NBC Page uniforms illegal as his first official act as a newlywed, solving Kenneth's uniform problem and giving Night Court fans the happy ending between Harry and Christine that the original series never delivered. The episode was utterly ridiculous in the best possible way, serving as a perfect tribute to the spirit of Night Court while also providing the romantic closure that fans had been waiting for since 1992. Fact 12. Christine Sullivan collected Princess Diana memorabilia.
What do you got in there, a dead rat and a pack of Necco wafers?
No, $250,000. We ate the Necco wafers.
While Judge Harry Stone's obsession with singer Mel Torme became one of Night Court's most famous running jokes, his love interest, Christine Sullivan, had her own equally quirky celebrity fixation that defined her character throughout the series. Christine was completely obsessed with Princess Diana and the British royal family, collecting various pieces of memorabilia that showcased her fascination with royalty and everything related to the Princess of Wales. The character's collection included porcelain thimbles featuring Princess Diana's image, along with other royal-themed collectibles that would occasionally appear in episodes or get mentioned in dialogue. This obsession fit perfectly with Christine's personality as someone who was honest to a fault, somewhat naive, and drawn to fairy tale romance and elegance. The Princess Diana fixation also served as a nice parallel to Judge Stone's Mel Torme fandom, giving the two romantic leads a shared trait of being devoted fans who idolized their respective celebrities. What made this character quirk even more interesting was how closely Markie Post embodied Christine Sullivan in real life. Harry Anderson once said in an entertainment documentary special that Markie Post truly was Christine Sullivan in every way, noting that she even apologized to a garbage can after accidentally bumping into it. This level of kindness and almost comically polite behavior perfectly matched the character who would collect Princess Diana memorabilia and believe in the fairy tale aspects of royalty. The Princess Diana obsession became such an integral part of Christine's character that it appeared throughout multiple seasons of the show, serving as a gentle running gag that added depth and personality to the public defender who would eventually become the heart of Night Court's ensemble cast alongside Judge Stone and his Mel Torme records. Fact 13. Harry Anderson's real name was actually Harry.
It would be an honor to call you Harry.
And it's fortunate I have that name.
One of the most remarkable coincidences in television history happened during the creation of Night Court, when series creator Reinhold Weege developed the lead character without any specific actor in mind and gave him characteristics that perfectly matched a real person he had never even met. According to Weege's own commentary on the Season 1 DVD release, he had already named the main character Harry Stone and established that he would be a devoted Mel Torme fan and an amateur magician before he ever knew that Harry Anderson existed. Weege created these character traits independently, drawing inspiration from observing real New York City Night Court judges and thinking about what kind of quirky, unorthodox person would make an interesting lead for a sitcom. The fact that the character practiced magic and idolized jazz singer Mel Torme were just creative choices that seemed to fit the eccentric judge personality Weege was building. It was only later, after the character was already developed, that Weege saw Harry Anderson performing on Cheers as the con-man character Harry the Hat, and realized this magician-comedian would be perfect for the role. When Anderson auditioned for Night Court, the coincidences became almost unbelievable. Not only was his actual first name Harry, matching the character's name, but Anderson was genuinely a professional magician in real life and was also a huge Mel Torme fan, just like the fictional Judge Stone. Weege later confirmed that Anderson being named Harry and sharing the character's love of Torme was completely coincidental and not a deciding factor in his casting, though it certainly must have felt like fate when they discovered just how perfectly the actor matched the role that had been written for him before anyone knew he would play it. Fact 14. Dan Fielding's character completely changed.
Look, listen, and learn.
I hated you in E.T.
If you watch the early episodes of Night Court and compare them to later seasons, you'll notice that John Larroquette's character Dan Fielding seems like a completely different person, and that's because he literally was rewritten from the ground up after the show's creator discovered what the actor was really capable of doing. The transformation of Dan Fielding from a stuffy conservative lawyer into a sleazy womanizer represents one of the most dramatic character overhauls in sitcom history. In the first couple of seasons, Dan Fielding was portrayed as what Larroquette himself described as a tight-lipped, vested, pipe-smoking conservative fellow who was rather uptight and proper in his demeanor. The character was written to be more of a traditional straight man who followed the rules and represented the establishment side of the courtroom. But as creator Reinhold Weege spent more time with Larroquette and got to know his actual personality, he realized the actor had a sharp, acerbic sense of humor and a maverick quality that was being completely wasted on this buttoned-up character. Weege started rewriting Dan Fielding to match Larroquette's strengths, gradually transforming him into the arrogant, sex-obsessed prosecutor who would hit on anything in a skirt and deliver cutting one-liners with perfect timing. Larroquette joked that by the end of the series, his character had devolved to the point where he was putting garden hoses down his pants, a far cry from the conservative pipe smoker of Season 1. The evolution happened because good television writers learned to write toward their actors' strengths rather than forcing performers into roles that don't fit, and Weege's willingness to completely reimagine Dan Fielding created one of the most memorable characters in 80s television. Fact 15. The show's theme was sampled by hip-hop royalty.
Gotcha!
Night Court's instantly recognizable jazz-funk theme song became such an iconic piece of television music that it found an unexpected second life in the hip-hop world, creating one of the most unlikely crossovers between 80s sitcom nostalgia and late 90s rap culture. In 1998, rapper Cameron used the Night Court theme as the foundation for his single, Horse and Carriage, bringing together an all-star lineup of hip-hop talent for a track that bridged two completely different entertainment worlds. The remix version of Horse and Carriage was produced by Daryl Digga Branch and featured an impressive roster of late 90s rap royalty, including Big Pun, Charlie Baltimore, Wyclef Jean, and Silk the Shocker. The decision to sample a theme song from a courtroom sitcom that had ended 6 years earlier was bold and unexpected, but it worked because the Night Court theme had such a strong, memorable melody that translated surprisingly well into a hip-hop context. The jazzy horns and funky bass line that introduced millions of viewers to Judge Harry Stone's courtroom every week became the backbone of a completely different kind of urban storytelling. This musical crossover represented a broader trend in late 90s hip-hop, where producers were mining television theme songs and other pop culture touchstones from the 80s for sample material, banking on the nostalgia factor to connect with listeners who had grown up watching these shows. The fact that Night Court, a show about the quirky nighttime cases in a Manhattan criminal court, could successfully transition from NBC's must-see TV lineup to urban radio stations demonstrated just how deeply the show had embedded itself in American popular culture across multiple generations and musical genres.